Hey guys, Jake's on point here with episode 1 of my Kerbal Space Let's Play. Um, I'm doing this because I've kind of gotten into the game recently and it's a pretty fun game, so I thought I'd make some videos about it. So what we're going to be doing today is pretty simple. We're going to be going to orbit, going to just create our little save. Going to be an industrial, corporation trying to make it to space because privatized spaceflight is the future, as opposed to government-funded spaceflight. So we're in point 2.1, and we're just going to come over to the VAB. Going to use the single-man capsule because it's, well, I don't need a huge thing since we're just going to orbit. Okay, so, we're just going to get all the necessities. We need a decoupler for when we come back so our pod can come back, and we need a parachute too, so we have a way to slow down the atmosphere. We need fuel. I was going to use those two, but I realized that it'd be probably more cost efficient to use the FL400. A small liquid fuel engine, just as kind of a little booster stage while we're up there. And then our main stage, which is hopefully going to get us to space. I'm using the small engine without thrust vectoring for this, because I'm going to put fins on it, but it was a mistake because I ended up having a little bit of instability, and then just a single, thing to hold it up. We're going to call this just the K1. I think we'll probably use a similar naming scheme for everything. Just organizing my stages, making sure everything's set, and we're good to launch. Okay, so it's daytime, so just waiting for everything to load in. Throttle up, fire engine, or not. That's awkward. Oh, right, I gotta get my map all up. There we are, right there. And now we're firing the engine. Okay. Fire the engine, release the clamp. We're just going. So, I know a lot of people are doing this now. It's playing Kerbal Space Program, that is. You notice I'm really only using one mod, which is Ferrum Aerospace, and that's really only when I do space planes and stuff, to give me my Mach speed. So I end up having to fight this a little bit. I don't know why. I think it's because you didn't use the LVT-45, which has thrust vectoring, as opposed to this is the LVT-30, which is more powerful but less thrust. Okay, so we're going to start our gravity turn here at about 10,000 feet now. I know there are people who say, oh, you don't have to start directly at 10,000 feet, but or 10,000 meters, my mistake. But I find it's easier, especially if I'm using something that doesn't have thrust vectoring and I have to fight like this, because this was just not being extremely cooperative. Still trying to get it to turn over, bringing up my resources, still trying to turn over. Yeah, I have this problem sometimes. I probably should use the LVT-45, but what am I going to do? I'm already on my way. So at about 25,000 meters there, just starting to get turned over a little bit more. I'd like to point out, I'm not super good at this game, so I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes. I won't always be the most fuel efficient. I'll fail missions, it'll be unfortunate, but that's just the nature of it. There are people, like Scott Manley and Hawk Gaming and Trilisium and stuff, and they, those guys are awesome. I look at the stuff they build and I think, wow, that's pretty insane. So we're just, using a maneuver to get into orbit. I know, got a little, too overzealous there. There are people who can do it without the maneuver nodes, but I figure it's easier, at least for me, I guess for a lot of people it isn't, so, and then I realize I'm being a bonehead, and that I can just circularize it by watching these two. There we go. When they switch, that's about when you know your orbit's circularized. I don't think I get it quite perfect, but I think I get it within like 101 and 98 or 99. Yeah, just about that. So, not a bad orbit, just kind of fine-tuning things, the perfectionist I am. So I'm just going to move over to the node and wait, because there's a lot of waiting involved in this game. Especially if you're going to other moons, other planets. Just about everything involves a decent amount of waiting. So, we're just hanging out, doing our thing, waiting in space. When it comes to maneuver nodes, you noticed I started a little bit early. It's because the maneuver nodes are set for instantaneous changes in thrust, as you may or may not know. And so if you start right at the node, you're not going to get it as perfect. So what you want to do is you kind of want to cut in half. So say you've got you have a minute of thrust, which is about what we have. You want to start at about 30 seconds, because then at T minus 30 seconds, because then at T plus 30 seconds, you should be about done with your maneuver, and that'll get you it'll get you closer, I should say, to your projected orbit or your projected trajectory. So we're just boosting here, boosting here. Got about half fuel left in this last stage. So, I probably could have made the whole rocket a little more fuel efficient, but I figured this is just a quick little intro video. And, getting into orbit isn't too hard. You notice I've got a bit of a skewed orbit. That's because I was fighting that rocket going up, so my trajectory is a little bit strange, but we get it just about perfect. A little bit off, well, a lot off, but that's not too bad. It's an orbit. I'm in space. Space. So, just hang out here in orbit. This is a huge momentous occasion for Kerbal Industries. We've made it to space. So I'm just going to line myself up with the poles, north to south, because that way I'll essentially stay pointing in the same direction. As you can look at the nav ball, I'm spinning, and I vary a little bit off, but that's okay. So we're just coming around here for sunrise, and of course I go to the map screen right as sunrise would appear, so you miss it, and there, you see it for a second. It's flying over. I think we're about to pass over the Space Center. Well, kind of. Okay, we're just going around again, and now I'm actually going to set up a maneuver node because I don't want to be in orbit for too long. There's no downside to it, but and I think I kind of want to try and land on the Space Center, so I'm going to adjust my orbit a little bit with these maneuver nodes. See if I can land straight on the Space Center. And I'm looking pretty good. Obviously I'm out in the ocean because the Kerbin's going to rotate under me, but it's good. So just, more waiting. It's the name of the game. Just waiting. Almost there. Just getting closer and closer to the node. Now you'll notice if you saw the my trajectory has actually, changed relative to the land below me because obviously, like I said, the planet's rotating, and so I'm just on the node, burning, trying to line up this orbit, or at least make it a little bit better, get a more equatorial orbit, but I'd say that's pretty close, at least to my projected. Still not perfect. Looks like I'm gonna land south of the Space Center, and I'm getting close, and I begin to realize that I am going to completely miss the Space Center. So now we're going to zoom, we're going to leave the map screen, come back to the pod, kind of orient ourselves retrograde as to if this was realistic, the heat shield on the bottom of our capsule would be aiming towards the atmosphere. And there's the moon. If we were going there, we'd start burning towards it right now, because that's pretty much the easy way to get to the moon is you aim at it and you burn when it rises. But we are not going there. So you notice I've still got a little bit of fuel left, which is good. So now we're kind of just waiting on the descent, hanging out here, looking at the moonrise over the desert, which is a pretty cool shot. Yeah, and I've begun to realize here that I don't think I'm going to quite hit the Space Center. I think I'm going to undershoot it. You notice it's a little wobbly. It's a little more difficult to maneuver. Even the smaller capsule once I get farther and farther into the atmosphere, because I've got more air to fight. We're getting in. I don't want to quite eject my lower stage because I want to make sure it falls to the planet and burns up, but I'm going to do that in a second. Just coming up over the coast. Hopefully I don't land in water. There's nothing bad with landing in water. It's just, I'd rather land on land. And, yep, here's where I notice I have completely missed the Space Center. I'm not even going to land on the continent. And this is where I'm thinking I'm going to land in the water. So I move to eject, or ditch my lower stage slowly, but like I said, because I'm kind of fighting it here, because I'm getting into the atmosphere, and this is not the ideal way to be doing it. Almost there. I just kind of want to shoot it down from myself, and there it goes. Of course, it's not going to have any of that. It says fuck you. Look at that. It's just no. Anyways, so we're coming through the atmosphere. You can see some re-entry effects. I really like those. I've thought about putting deadly re-entry back on, but I'm pretty sure I would die in most instances. Trying to find my debris, and it's, just as it hits the 2.5 kilometer mark. So it looks like I'm going to land over this continent, which is nice. It's close to the Space Center, so it won't make recovery too difficult. Coming down, deploy my parachute. Don't know what that explosion was. Maybe it was the little bit of debris that flew off, but I doubt we would hear it. Here's inside the capsule. Now you can actually you can fly an entire mission just with these instruments, and there are people who do it, and I have no idea how. See, you got our radar altimeters going down, which shows we're actually getting closer to the ground, because The altitude you see outside of the capsule marks sea level, and you're not always going to land at sea level like right now. It says we've got another, what is that? Yeah, about 9,000 meters. But no, my mistake. That's 900 meters, and we weren't nearly that high. So just about to touch down right about now. Yeah, and you see we're still at 530 meters above sea level because we're, not in the ocean. And go out, bounce a little bit. We're, in this hot desert in our big, thick spacesuit in literally the middle of nowhere. But that's okay because we didn't die. So we're just excited to be here. The first industrial privatized space flight that no one died on. And we'll head back to the Space Center, go to our tracking station, and recover Jeb and our K1 orbiter. Because I forgot to put him back in the capsule, so it takes 2 different clicks. Well, guys, that was our first trip to space. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if you want to see more. I'm Jake's On Point Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.